We have a moral United States that has held a British citizen, Shaka Arma, in Guantanamo Bay for 13 years without charge or trial, an innocent man taken from his family and his children, a man denied seeing his children grow up. As a child, he's not even seen because he was born after he was taken into captivity by these psychopaths. We have children, his children, who've been denied a father in their childhood by a nation, a government representing a nation, more like it, and even more so a hidden hand behind governments, whichever the complexion, that are driving this horrific treatment of people. We have an American administration, under whatever colour, that can do that to a human being and still claim the moral high ground. So we have the next stage this week of the Syrian crisis, and that is the introduction of Russia as a bomber. Must have more bombs. Cameron must come in and have more bombs, because bombs sort everything, don't they? And it's a very, very dangerous situation on a much bigger level, as I'll come to in this videocast. Because on this piece of land called Syria, we now have lining up Russia with China in the background, but not far in the background, like I say, and Iran too, against the American, British, French-led West with Israel, the elephant in the living room behind them. And obviously President Putin has gone in there to protect the Assad government. Not just to do that, but to protect Russian military and naval interests in Syria from the gathering chaos, upheaval and takeover. And when the first strikes anyway were against what people were not calling ISIS, but opponents of the Assad government, well, that all makes sense, because Russia well know, and it's becoming more and more accepted, the initial trigger that brought about this whole catastrophe was through American trained, armed and funded rebels, many of which had just been shipped over from doing the same in Libya. And so what we have now, in effect, is an emerging proxy war on that land between definitely Russia, supported by China and Iran, who are attacking American-backed rebels. And I love them. They call them moderates. There is no moderation in what any of them are doing in Syria. And it could go any way, but I am going to talk later about something that was predicted a long time ago, which current events are absolutely mirroring decades later. Greece and the Greek financial collapse, and it looks, at the time I'm recording this anyway, as if the Greek government has blinked and is going to suggest that austerity measures imposed by the creditors are accepted and introduced, or at least significant amounts of those austerity measures anyway. And it's not really a surprise, because countries now are, especially those in the single currency like the euro, are under the complete control, virtually, of those that control that currency and control whether that country or that country has enough of the currency available to exchange, to cause and create economic activity. And so, as was pointed out by some of us from the start, once you ditch your own currency and go to a multiple single currency with others, whoever controls that currency controls you. As members of the Rothschild family have said over the years, give me control of a nation's currency and I care not who makes the laws, the rules. Well, give me control of a currency for virtually the whole of the European Union and I'll control the European Union no matter who makes the rules. And this is the case all over the world. It's not politicians that control and dictate events. It's bankers. And it's bankers and this currency, which I'm going to get to in a second, which decide who has what, who eats and doesn't eat, who has a home and doesn't have a home, who has a job or no job. And it decides the choices in their lives of almost everyone on the planet. Because talk to most people, and if they're not doing what they want to do, the reason they're not doing it is because I don't have the money, mate. So money has been created not for its useful purpose of being a unit of exchange to overcome the limitations of barter, but as a form of not only control, but to acquire, hijack, and take over the wealth of the planet, and through that, humanity in general. So people say that money is the root of all evil, but that's not what the phrase says. It says the love of money is the root of all evil, and I would add another line to that. The control of money is the root of all evil, along with interest on money. Because money as a unit of exchange to overcome the limitations of barter has a positive contribution to make. But once you introduce interest, for reasons I'll come to, then you have created the vehicle for a very few people to take over the wealth of the planet. So this Greek crisis and the ones in Ireland and Portugal and Spain and Italy and elsewhere are all connected and based upon this money, this currency, whatever name you give it, sterling, euro, whatever. And through this currency, people's lives are controlled. Those that have it compared with those who don't have it. So what is this money that has such fundamental power over people's lives? Well, we have a phrase, certainly in this part of the world, I don't know how further it goes, called funny money. And this is the definition of funny money. Currency or money that is counterfeit or worthless, or whose value is otherwise illusory. Okay, that's funny money. So what is this money that controls our lives and is dictating austerity in Greece and elsewhere? People that control it, anyway, are imposing that austerity. Well, it's officially called fiat money, and this is a definition of fiat money. Paper money or coins of little or no intrinsic value in themselves and not convertible into gold or silver, but made legal tender by fiat order of the government. So this money that dictates and controls people's lives to such a fine detail extent has no intrinsic value and is only able to be exchanged for goods and services because the government says, or in this case the European Union, the European Central Bank in terms of the euro, say it has value. The term fiat comes from the Latin meaning of let it be done, it shall be. And this nicely describes the process of money with no value being exchanged for goods and services only because of the perception that it has value. And this is a definition of fiat money from the Investopedia website. It's a currency that a government has declared to be legal tender, but is not backed by a physical commodity. The value of fiat money is derived from the relationship between supply and demand, rather than the value of the material that the money is made of. Historically, most currencies were based on physical commodities, such as gold or silver, but fiat money is based solely on faith. Exactly. And once it's based on faith, it's a manipulator's party trick, because all you have to do is put out a rumor that some currency is or country is in trouble and the value of the currency drops. Or you take your massive amounts of money, investments out of a country, which makes the perception of the financial stability of that country change to one of doubt, and suddenly the value of the financial structure of that country goes down. It's a piece of cake. And the dollar, the pound sterling, the euro, all of these things are fiat money, worthless in and of itself. And the definition in this article goes on, because fiat money is not linked to physical reserves, it risks becoming worthless due to hyperinflation. If people lose faith in a nation's paper currency, like the dollar bill, the money will no longer be of any value. It says most modern paper currencies are fiat currencies, have no intrinsic value, and are used solely as a means of payment. Historically, governments would mint coins out of a physical commodity such as gold or silver, or would print paper money that could be redeemed for a set amount of a physical commodity. Fiat money is inconvertible and cannot be redeemed. Fiat money rose to prominence in the 20th century, specifically after the collapse of the Bretton Woods system in 1971, when the United States ceased to allow the conversion of the dollar into gold. And as I've described in my books, that process of creating fiat, intrinsically worthless money, was all part of the manipulation to use that system to take over the wealth of the world in ways that I'm going to explain. So we have a currency in which not having enough of it causes or is justifying austerity. Having loads of it means that you can buy the real wealth of the world, the land, the property, the resources. And it's intrinsically bloody worthless. But shocking as that may seem, it gets worse. How does this fiat, intrinsically valueless money, come into circulation? And people say, oh yeah, well governments do it, don't they? No, no. The vast overwhelming majority of fiat currency comes into existence by private banks, as I show in the books, in the end controlled by the same people.